So this was supposed to be a video comparing mini fridges, and it still is a video comparing them. It's just that along the way, I found out a lot of stuff about mini fridges in general that I think you need to know even if you aren't considering any of these four. People buy mini fridges for a few reasons. You can use them if you're traveling to keep things cool. You can have them at your desk to chill your lunch. But mostly they are loved by teens and pre-teens who want them either as somewhere to keep snacks and drinks cold in their room or as a place to store makeup to apparently extend its shelf life. And they're so popular now that there is an overwhelming choice about which one you should buy. So I bought 4 of them at different price points with different features to give you a broad overview of what's available. But make sure you watch the whole video because at the end, I've got some really important information that you won't want to miss. All 4 of these fridges have certain things in common, as well as having a mains cable and connection. They also have a 12-volt connection and cable, so you can use them in a vehicle, and they all have the ability to both cool and warm, or at least they do in theory, but I'll tell you more about that in a moment. Also, all of these fridges are semiconductor fridges, not compressor fridges like most of us will have in our homes. Semiconductor fridges are lighter. They run continuously, which means continual low background noise. And they are only capable of cooling to a temperature of about 20 degrees less than the ambient temperature. So let's have a look at the 4 I've bought, starting with the cheapest, which is the Artthus fridge, which in the UK has a recommended sales price of £32.99. It comes in a plain box with no branding. It's available in a choice of 4 colours: black, blue, pink and white, and the version I tested out was 4 litres capacity. Because it's built primarily to store makeup, the door is mirrored, and if you tap the small light bulb at the bottom, you can cycle through 3 different light settings. Inside there's a small removable shelf on the top right, a drip tray and a small shelf in the door. Although it's aimed at the skincare market, if you do want to chill drinks in it, you can store up to 6 full-size cans, but you do have to remove the shelves and drip trays. And the inside height is too small to accommodate a drinks bottle. There's a handle built into the top for transporting, and like all the fridges I tested, it took about an hour to reach its coolest temperature of 2 degrees. I did also test its heating function, but I'm going to tell you about that along with all of the heating functions with these fridges together at the end. If you want to skip ahead, the chapters are marked on the timeline. So next I've got 2 mid-price fridges. The first is a bestseller from a known British brand, Russell Hobbs. It's 4 litre capacity and it sells for £50. It's available in 4 different finishes, including this version with its wood effect handles, which is known as Scandi White. Out of all 4, this one felt like it was the best made. It's also the one which came with the most comprehensive packaging. Inside there's a removable slatted shelf and a small door pocket, and you can fit 6 cans inside, but again, a drinks bottle is too tall. It took an hour to reach 2 degrees when the room temperature was an ambient temperature of 21 degrees. The next mid-price mini fridge is the Astro AI, which at 6 litres is 50% bigger than the other 3. And I bought it deliberately to show you what that extra capacity gives you. With the shelf on the inside of the door removed, it can fit 8 330ml cans inside it or 4 drinks bottles. It did take slightly longer to get down to temperature than the other 3, which is to be expected as it is a bigger capacity. This is the only one of the 4 that doesn't have a carry handle, but it does still have a little shelf on the inside of the door. And then you have the most expensive of all the 4 fridges, which is the Bchen fridge, which has a list price of £64.99 and comes in both black or white finish. With this fridge, you're mainly paying the premium price for the LED lights, which give a great optical illusion on the front. They are controlled by gently tapping the top of the fridge door, so you can cycle through the 7 different colour modes. Or if you tap and hold for 3 seconds, you can turn the lights on or off and revert to having a mirror on the door instead. There's a handle built into the top of the fridge so you can transport it easily, but the door itself, which has a magnetic closure, has a really fiddly handle. It's just a slim bit of plastic moulding which you have to grab with your fingernails to open it. Compare that to the handles of the other 3 I tested, which are much chunkier and easier to use. This model seems to be mostly aimed at the gamer market, and out of all 4 options, this was the most popular with my kids. That handle might be annoying to us, but when it's offset against a funky looking door, it's easily overlooked by its target market. Inside there's a removable shelf and a small compartment on the door, and like the other 4-litre fridges, you can fit 6 cans of Coke inside if you remove the shelf, or 5 with the shelf in. But with an internal height of 22mm, it's too short for a water bottle. Now let's discuss the heating function on these fridges. Now the idea with heating function isn't that you could cook inside them, but rather that you could keep food that was already hot warm until you wanted to eat it. The manufacturers promise that these 4 fridges will reach between 55 and 65 Celsius. And so I tested them all out for an hour to see how warm they got. The Russell Hobbs reached 51 Celsius after an hour, and the 6-litre Astro AI reached 55 Celsius. So both of the mid-range models produced good results, which leaves the cheapest and the most expensive. And both of those failed the test. The cheapest, the Artthus, lasted 7 minutes before it turned off, having only reached 29 Celsius. And the most expensive, the Bchen, reached 33 Celsius in 15 minutes before the power also cut out. Both of them stopped working completely on either setting until they'd cooled down and got back to room temperature. So finally, let's have a look at energy consumption, and I think you are in for a bit of a shock, because I was. Although these fridges are all tiny, they have a big appetite for power. First of all, I let all of these fridges get to temperature with cans inside them, and then I monitored their energy consumption for an hour. The cheapest fridge, the Artthus, used 0.038 kilowatt hours. The Russell Hobbs used slightly less, 0.037. The Astro AI, which is 50% bigger, used 0.044 kilowatt hours. And the Bchen used 0.040 kilowatt hours of energy without lights on, and a tiny bit more, 0.42 kilowatt hours, when it was running with the lights on. So to put that into context, here's how the energy cost would add up using current energy prices if you were running these fridges continually for a month or a year. Now, to give that some context, I measured the energy that our 18-month-old 363-litre family compressor fridge freezer uses. We actually pulled the fridge out so that I could access the electrical socket to set up the same energy monitor, and for the first 45 minutes, this is how much power it used. Because, of course, unlike semiconductor fridges, compressor fridges spend a lot of time not using any energy at all. In the end, I actually monitored energy use for 2 hours to get a better idea. And this is how much it used after 2 hours, which, yes, is as much as the mini fridges used in 1 hour. So these mini fridges are very hungry on power, so please consider that if you're thinking about buying one. And if you're not put off and would like information on any of the 4 that I've looked at, you can scan the QR code which is appearing on the screen right now, or check out the information in the description below.